Peace. Ooh. Oh, 1 second. I forgot to turn off the fan. Yeah, we live. So we here. It is hot in Houston. It is a heat wave currently going on, and I am Stevens Orozco. I am your host, along with my co-host, and I'm about to introduce them, but I want to welcome everybody back to Talking Politics with Friends. We are here for I think this is the 5th episode. This is a new endeavor that I put together with my great friends. That's why it's called Talking Politics with Friends. And as I mentioned before, and I'll say this on every episode because we will have new listeners, new viewers coming in. And I want to let you know that this is not a podcast. This is a live radio show that you get to call in. Matter of fact, if you're looking at the screen, you will see right now that there is a phone here in the studio with a number that you will be able to call at the 8 o'clock hour so you can participate. Because the mission statement of the show is not to just, get on and talk politics and I'm going to speak for you, or my co-host Biko is going to speak for you, or Maria, whoever. Nobody's going to speak for you. You get to speak for yourself, because part of this political work is about engagement, and we want you to be engaged, and we want you to know what's going on in Houston. And so with that, let me go ahead and just ask you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this, share this, hit the bell so that way you know next time we have another episode coming up. Follow us on social media, all us individually, as well as the page that we're putting together, because this is real grassroots. We're doing this on our own free time, but we're doing this with a passion that we have for community, and your help is going to help take us a long way. So with that, let me go ahead and introduce our returning co-host, Biko. Dr. Biko. People are calling you Dr. Biko now.
Oh, is that really what it is? I need to know. I had no clue. No, it's good to be back. I had a little bit of a drink too much on Tuesday. So I ended up.
Listen, Columbia was playing. So.
I saw. Yeah, we saw each other at Axelrad that night before. Did Columbia win that game?
Yeah, Columbia won that
game. Okay. I've been following the World Cup now. Yo, I saw a shootout yesterday between Germany and Paraguay, and I was like, oh.
Oof. I hate penalties.
Yo, I don't like that.
I hate penalties.
I was just like, yo, that joint is crazy. So all of this to say, no, it's really, really good to be back. Maria, we are missing you. When you come back, we are going to have a good time. But
absolutely.
Yeah, but I'm super, super happy for our special guest here. I'm really hyped, but I'm not going to steal your thunder, Stevens.
No,
go ahead.
Absolutely not. I mean, it's like the introduction. I've been working on it because there's so much to go into it, because we all do collectively have history. We do, and we're kind of going over that a little bit, and it may show up during the show, and I'm gonna do my best to let y'all all inside the inside jokes, because sometimes it may just happen. But that's the beautiful thing about this. We're gonna keep doing this again and again, and you'll understand where a lot of this camaraderie comes from, right? And this fellowship. And so with that, let me go ahead and introduce our guest for this episode. And we have with us community advocate. He does a lot. He's a really smart guy too, because his job is not easy. But this is Jordan Thomas, and welcome to Talking Politics with Friends. If you would please just kind of give us a little introduction to yourself for folks who haven't met you before.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Actually, I'm just going to dive into the inside of it all. We were just talking about how we met each other.
I know.
I'm Jordan Thomas. Some viewers may know me from, I ran for city council to replace Dr. Plummer in the special election back in November 25. Ultimately, wasn't successful, got a third place finishing, but I like to think I ran a race that hasn't really been run in the city of Houston before.
You absolutely did.
In terms of things that I was talking about. Used to be a chief of staff at City Hall, so have a lot of knowledge on how that system works. My day job, I'm a grid developer. I build mega projects to connect grids. Don't know if we want to get into that at all.
Oh, we will.
It may come up because it is a very hot season. Starting
and data centers like that, all of it,
data centers, but also even before data centers, just keeping up with the AC conditioning, with everything, it puts a stress on the grid. So
100%.
So people need to understand that, if we have a blackout because it's too hot, and it's because the grid is outdated. Yeah. But continue with what you were saying.
So I was just gonna say how I know these two. So we met. We were just talking at one of the very first early on. I don't even know if they were called Black Lives Matter protests.
No, they weren't. Nah, it wasn't. It wasn't that yet. Nah.
It was just like whatever the latest string of black men in a long line who had been gunned down by the police that day.
Mike Brown.
That was the protest, right?
It was in response to the non-indictment of
Darren Wilson. Yeah.
who murdered Mike Brown that December. So it was at the Galleria where everybody set up. So that's where we met.
And it was like we were having one of those every month, one of those type killings.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, they were coming through so crazy at the time.
It wasn't a movement yet.
No.
It was reaction to what's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's where I met these guys.
I tell you, man, I guess we could name a little bit of names. I will call them Catch. You call them. You two had such incredible energy. I had met up. I don't know. Did you see the Facebook invite? How did you even end up, Stevens, at that protest? Like,
it's actually kind of funny because it does involve the original KCOH location on
Almeda.
Because I was invited to be on a radio program with our dear friend Secunda Joseph.
Yeah.
And that's what I met her that day. And then I think somebody there was like, oh, there's a protest going on at the Galleria for this stuff going on with Mike Brown and the non-indictment. So like, all right, let's all go. And we went. And that was the first time that, like kind of like met you there. Met you there. So it was like pretty much the inception for a lot of our work.
Crazy coincidence, because I just saw the Facebook invite and I was just like, I gotta show up to this thing, like I was sitting there like I gotta, and it was crazy. I think I met Stevens first, and then I see these two dudes who were like, because I'm almost 6'2", and I see these two dudes bigger than me. I'm like, yo, with these t-shirts on, looking militant as hell. Do you remember? And I said, the hell? I said, these two dudes got great energy. And so we ended up like connecting. And I mean, it was an amazing protest because we were talking about how much it hit the pockets of the people at Galleria during that season of like holiday shopping. But there was also an incredible energy around that time we were younger, of course, but like this sort of energy around like, something has to change.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all were building things, and Stevens and I connected. So it was an amazing, I do remember being like, these two are dope.
It's so interesting to think about that moment and compare it to the one we're in.
I know. Go ahead.
So,
yeah.
I was just gonna bring up kind of the racial element.
Yeah.
Right? Like that protest was rooted in blackness, and black people were at the front of it, and from that comes all these other American movements.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This one that we're in.
Yeah.
Feels like it's missing black people. Feels like it's missing like blackness as a core, right?
Yeah.
Which is interesting because it's a democratic socialist moment.
Yeah.
But people who are the progeny.
I do have theories, so but keep going.
No, keep going. This is good.
People who were the progeny of chattel slavery.
Yeah.
Economic units.
Yeah.
Are somehow not deeply involved in the democratic socialist moment of America.
Let me ask you before I start speculating, why you think that is, though? Because I will say it is absolutely true.
Yeah.
It is absolutely. I think we were talking about Mamdani, in New York City. Yeah. I think a lot of black people, I'm sure, voted for him in New York City. But I think he appealed to them on the sort of popular sort of, not necessarily entertainment, but like he got riz, like he got aura type level, you know what I mean? But it wasn't like, and sure, he was talking about affordability, all this other stuff, but I think it was the packaging of it that got a lot of black folks really behind him in New York City. So he's a curious anomaly in that way, but the larger movement across the country, I don't know if black people are actually getting involved with. I'm curious, what do you think? Why do you think that is, though?
Several reasons.
Go ahead.
So we can start with kind of DSA as a party itself is not viewed as having a whole lot of black people or being rooted in blackness. You kind of get a caricature of a DSA member in your head of a Bernie bro.
Yeah, exactly. No, right? That's actually what I was thinking. Go ahead. Yeah.
And I think that you can't talk about this Mamdanistan moment that we're in without talking about Bernie, right? He started the S word in American politics, right? He was kind of the first wave of that. And what people were finding was, hey, it's pretty normal stuff, right? But
okay. So let's get into it because some people may not know exactly why we're talking about socialism and DSA and Mamdani. Even though if you've been watching the show for the past couple of weeks, we brought up Mamdani many times because of what's going on in New York. We want to see it happen in Houston, but also understand how Houston's already been having his own wave. And this is, and I think this is gonna be our best episode yet. And it may upset some people because it's not going to be easy to say some of the things I'm going to say in the second half of the show when I'm talking about Jasmine Crockett, but also the DSA conversation. Why is it a big conversation? Well, last week, Mandani endorsed 3 congressional candidates for the U.S. Congress and 5 state legislators, and clean sweep.
All of them won.
All 8 won.
All of them won.
The Democrats, establishment, and the establishment media went into a panic, talking about, why this is not representative of the Democratic Party. And Mandani has had the most brilliant response. He's like, what is a party if not its voters?
Listen.
So if your voters are voting for the socialists,
exactly,
specifically Democratic socialists,
yep,
not just a socialist, then that's what the party wants. So you have to go with the flow. Now, what happened yesterday in Colorado?
Yep.
You had a congressional seat in the primary for the Democrat. The establishment Democrat lost. Been there for 30 years. Matter of fact, the candidate, the one, Mila Quiros, she was born in 1997 when this congressional person, the incumbent, lost. First one.
Yeah.
So we're talking about like the layers of like how long people have been in Congress and in office, and how we have this young wave coming in, just taking care of everybody, removing everybody. So why are we talking about this for Houston? Because we have to recognize what's going on with like the discussion about democratic socialism. Because now here we are with like the same playbook since Bernie. We want to demonize democratic socialism. You want to make it like the boogeyman. You want to say this is the bad thing, right? But my favorite thing that I'm like doing is like how they're putting themselves in pretzels, trying to make this demon look a certain way. Because if you look at what Fox News is saying, they're like, well, these are third world communists coming over from China and Cuba and Venezuela, and they're taking over the Democratic Party, and they're going to take over America, and we need to stop these dirty third world communists. Very hateful, very demonstrative. On the other side, on MSNBC and the establishment Democrats, they're like, oh, man, this is unfortunate because these are those white yuppies gentrifying these neighborhoods. They are now, mobilizing for democratic socialism. So it's like, is it the white yuppies? Is it the dirty third world communists? I don't know who it is. So now we are in a moment where it's like, well, let's start defining ourselves because, as far as myself personally, I would share that I am not a democratic socialist. I am a social abolitionist. And we could get into that later. But that's just to highlight the fact that people need to stop looking at this two-party system as the binary of like, it's like a one-off for everybody. Choose one side. You got to understand the branches. You have to understand the leaves. And you have to understand why people are so rooted in socialism now, because obviously like the economic situation. So that's the setup. That's where we at. So how are we seeing it for Houston?
So let me hop in here real quick. Great. Yeah, it's good. It's dope. Let me hop in real quick. I'm going to say a couple things just relative to like blackness in the DSA too, because I actually want to come back to this. Part of my hunch here, and I think you brought it up with Bernie Sanders, right? That like part of what made Bernie both incredibly appealing to the masses was, but also turned off a lot of black folks, was his materialist message, right? There you go. Do you see what I mean? Like, there was a way that his commitment to a certain set of economic principles got him in hot water with black folks, because particularly the establishment like political black folks. And I'm not simply talking about Democratic politicians. I'm talking about, the old head, your grandmothers, who vote, who understand identity politics in a very, very specific way. These are the children of the civil rights movement. There's a very real way that they, and I think Bernie's refusal, or maybe just his, I don't know if it was a refusal or not, but because he stayed on this straight up economic message and said, listen, if we can get you to make more money, if we can put more money in your pocket, right, irrespective of your race, by making that particular claim, a lot of black folks were turned off because they were asking, where how do I fit? How am I represented in this particular? Do you see what I mean? 100%. Do you see what I mean? So I think, and especially Bernie was forward thinking in what he was doing, but the time, you got to keep in mind, you're right, it was around 10 years ago, and this is at the height of the Black Lives Matter. Like, black people are being killed on camera, on a loop all the time. Right. And so there's a way that, like, not appealing to that.
Right.
Go ahead.
It's insane.
Yeah. So
like, how are you? I'm watching something on TV. I'm seeing something on my feed, and you won't even address your economic message.
That's the T. So I love that you say, because this is the. So I'm like, Bernie had a great message forward looking, but he didn't, I don't think he understood the moment relative to black folks in that, and I don't know if this would have helped him given the machinations of the Democratic Party, but young black folks, I think, would have gotten on board with him a lot more. Listen, but because he missed that moment, And then, for what it's worth, AOC came out strong, and now she seems to be incredibly like changing her pot. Like she seems to be establishment or whatever. Like a lot of like what I think is happening for a lot of younger Black folks or older millennials like us is many folks are looking and they're saying, Bernie didn't quite get it right.
Right.
And now the current representatives of the DSA aren't looking like us either.
Right.
And even if the message sounds good to a lot of Black folks, it doesn't. It doesn't directly appeal to Black folks' interests.
Exactly.
Do you see what I mean?
And there's a distinction there. There's an important distinction there. Like I can be ecumenical and talk about everyone, inclusive, right?
Yep.
But there's a very specific experience within America of only one people with economic units, right? So
you better go ahead and say it. Go ahead now.
So my thing about Bernie is he comes from the Zuccotti Park movement, Occupy Wall Street, right? He latched onto that.
Yep.
Which happened in 2011,
Yep.
and he springboards to a 2015-2016 presidential run using that message.
Yep, he does.
While the rest of us, in time, Black people especially, lived through the Zuccotti Park moment. We saw our mothers and fathers lose their home to subprime mortgages that were targeted at minorities and Black people.
My dad's house went upside down during that moment. Go ahead, keep going,
And then you fast forward into Trayvon in 2012 and 2013.
Go ahead and say
we were radicalized in a different way, right? But these two movements never converged.
They never did.
As they needed to.
Hey, I think you're so right about this.
And they never should. They never should.
Oh, say more.
They never should. They never should.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Because I feel differently about that. Tell me about that.
Breaking news, okay?
Yeah.
I think after 100 and what is it, like since the Civil War ended, like
1863, we looking at now.
160 years, 160 some change, 161 years.
Yeah.
Maybe integration of everything completely was a bad idea, including political parties. That's why multi-party system is the way to go. Like, how many more lessons do we need to see that, we have communities, specifically like the Chinese community or the Jewish community. Everybody is invested in their own political capital.
Sure.
And along with their actual capital.
Yes.
And then that includes their own neighborhoods. And then their neighborhoods have signs in their own language. And then their neighborhoods have their own police forces, right? And their neighborhoods but Black people don't do that.
Exactly.
They don't have that. They're not allowed that, right? And I say
This is
allowed in a
true.
sense because the moment Black people try to do that, what happened? It was like Black Wall Street, Rosewood, all these other things.
This goes back to Jordan's point that you're right, that there is this unique experience that
Exactly.
a scholar in Black studies named Saidiya Hartman, she calls it living as the afterlives of slavery, right? That like there's a very real way that violence of enslavement, of having been labeled a commodity asset, like living as a number. I think and so as soon as Black people were no longer free labor, we became a political and economic problem for the United States. Hence, and I think this is to get to your point, the Black Wall Street piece. Like people are upset because, they're upset. White people get upset because these things that were supposed to make them money are now making money for themselves. Do you see what I mean? Like there's a...
And Rainbow Coalition that evolved from the Black Panther Party.
Yep.
The aesthetics.
From the Fred wing. Of
Yes,
the Black
it did. It was definitely the Fred, that Chicago wing.
And then there was the Chicago wing, the Fred Hampton. And what happened to them?
They got killed.
They got killed. They got locked up, political prisoners, all that stuff. So we have to understand that like the socialism from like the Black side has always existed and been trying to have its day in the sun, but like, the FBI. But now, when we talk about Bernie, I think he handled the Black Lives Matter movement the best as he could because they were disrupting everybody at that time. I remember when he got disrupted during a speech, two young Black women came up to the podium he stepped back.
Yeah, he let them have it.
And he crossed his hands and he just let them have their moment and say what they needed to say. And then he would try to address it. And that's where I'm like, at the end of the day, for me, is like, I do not put my faith of like Black issues, or in my case, Latino issues and Colombian issues, right, in the hands of somebody who's non-Colombian or non-Black. Like you have to build a political capital, you have to build the political power to be like, no, actually, if you don't go our way, we're going to boycott this business that affects you specifically, council member, because you're invested in this. So I'm sorry, your stock just went down. Like that's the type of political movement you have to be a part of.
I understand where you're coming from, but when I'm talking about presidential level politics, we are inherently talking about coalition politics.
Yes.
And within coalition politics, it is incumbent upon the black people who are part of that movement or whatever to get their piece of the pie. But the leader of that coalition politics, in this case, Bernie, needs to do everything he can to manage and grow and build the coalition.
That was the other piece too.
No, and I'm glad you said that, because actually there was a recent poll that was taken on popularity, just not like policies. Who are the three? Well, they did like a 10. I'm going to say the top 3 most popular politicians of the United States. Number 1, Barack Obama. He still has the crown.
Still now?
He still has the crown.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
We live in the post Michael Jordan era where we're still trying to find a Kobe.
Okay. I was about to say that's probably what
Perfect
that's
analogy.
a perfect analogy.
Perfect analogy.
Kobe hasn't come quite.
Kobe hasn't come quite just yet.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
I feel it on that.
I literally was about to say, like, the new Barack Obama has not showed up yet. No. Unfortunately, he wasn't born here. He was born in Uganda. That's Mandani, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, that would be Kobe.
100%.
And he might be Kobe in a different way.
Exactly.
What if we're in an alt universe where Kobe's a passer? Like the greatest passer of all time.
Well, and also Kobe had Shaq in a way that Jordan had never had a good center. So you might be on to something with this. And no, this is good.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like,
because Gavin Newsom isn't that.
Number 2.
No.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernard.
Number 2 is still he's still
one of the most popular politicians. And number 3,
before you even tell me the third.
Mandani.
No, are you serious?
Yeah, that's Kobe. He's really Kobe.
No,
bro.
he really is.
He's really Kobe.
And he's the kingmaker right now, and his endorsement goes a long way because he has been a case study in 6 months to show everybody in America that's like, oh, this is what I promised you. Here I delivered it. It's all done. And people are like, wow, after like an entire lifetime and generation of asking for something this election cycle, and by the next election cycle, I'm still asking for the same thing because they said all these excuses. And this guy just came in and just
came in and did it. Just came in and did it.
So it's like show, don't tell is the name of the game, and he's playing it to perfection.
But also too, I actually didn't even think about it that way, but I think you're spot on with Mamdani. I look at New York City and I'm like, man, he's doing everything like absolutely correct. He's winning. I didn't want the Knicks to win, but the Knicks win the championship with him too, right? Oh my God. Big body Brunson. We're not doing this right now. I ain't gonna do. We gonna talk sports. But I think the other part about it too is that there's something about him that people might assume is the same as Donald Trump, which isn't. Which is that he is genuine in a way that Donald Trump appears or plays the genuine thing. Why am I bringing that up? Because in the grand scheme of things, like you look at his position relative to like Palestine, right? Mm-hmm. He's been consistent about that ever since he got into office. And New York City has a very large Jewish constituency, many of whom might actually be Zionists, right? So it's one of those things where it's like, and yet he won the mayor. And when people pushed him on it, he was like, listen, I don't have no personal beef with Netanyahu. Like, this ain't what y'all think it is. This, and it's not because I'm Muslim. He's like, y'all committed a genocide. And it was so curious to me that like that's I think that is the weird thing that makes him Kobe is he's turned Barack Obama's social media game into his own thing and has a completely, and whereas Obama was pretty polished in the way that he manipulated the algorithms and he had to be, he's a black man, I get it, he's got to do other things. Listen, you got to do. But Mamdani comes and he's manipulating the algorithms too, but he also has this aura of genuineness, right? This sense that like these are my principles. I'm not going to sit around and watch a country commit a genocide against another group of people, right? You see what I mean?
Right.
So I think there's something. I think y'all are right. I didn't recognize he'd be number 3, but also the bench needs to be bigger than that too. If I can be frank,
bench is whack.
The
bench is whack.
The
we
bench,
ain't got nobody coming off the bench. Like
no shooters. Nobody,
but that's the thing.
We ain't got no pieces.
Mandani is currently recruiting all the bench right now, right? He is
but for New York, though.
No, but Colorado just added the Democratic Socialists. That's part of the bench. Right. And slowly but surely, you're going to find the next, you could call like pop culture president, right? Because when it comes to like Barack Obama's transcendency, is because he transcended because he had all the it factor.
He did.
Great
he was handsome.
Great for TV, handsome, great voice, great off the cuff, a lot of wit, all that stuff. Like he possessed all that stuff, the charm, and the closest thing that came to Barack Obama before Barack Obama was JFK. Right?
Yeah. Damn, that's true.
He was the pop culture guy. Like he was dating not dating Marilyn Monroe, but something with Marilyn Monroe.
She was a side piece. We ain't gonna go in there. We ain't going down the conversation.
So that
Happy Birthday song was nuts. I don't know if y'all saw that video.
I seen that video.
Sorry, I didn't mean. Have you seen the clip though?
But have you seen the Dave Chappelle?
No.
My family's here. I'll send it to you.
Sorry.
Sorry with the inside joke.
So when it comes to like the bench is growing, and I'm excited about that. This is an exciting time.
Yeah.
So we see what's going on over there. We see the big story, democratic socialism and Donnie, and all this power shifting going on within the Democratic Party. Now, how does that look like in Houston? Because Houston does have.
That's my question.
It does. There is a chapter of
the DSA here.
DSA here, and they've been here for quite a while. I would say like 10 years at the very least, if not more.
Been for a minute.
And if you go to their website, they have a calendar full of all types of events. They got events that are educational, readings, presentations, community work. And they're active. Now, full disclosure, at one point I did run for Congress, and I did earn their endorsement, right? And I could speak from just that informed experience. Like the majority of them were just white. They were all, but like it's coalition building, right? So for me, it's like, where is Houston's Black Socialist Organization, right? Where is Houston's Latino socialist organization? Because that's the lesson that we got from all of the organizing that we got, is that you got to build a coalition.
You absolutely do.
Mind you, this is like a hint. We talked Israel, Palestine within the conversation of the shift, DSA, and then the coalition building. This is going to come closer to where I want to warn everybody, and I'm going to put the phone on right here. So you're going to call and be mad at me. I don't want you to be mad at me, because I'm going to have a conversation about Jasmine Crockett and how she fits into this moment. And it is the right moment that people have been waiting for change, but the wrong moment for establishment politics. And care to guess where Jasmine Crockett is standing right now?
I mean, we know, yeah.
So that's where I want to be like, clear about this. Like, I'm not picking on her, but she has unfortunately made herself an example, right? So we're going to talk about that. But as far as Houston goes, how do you see like the efforts for democratic socialism to be like the wave in Houston?
I feel like in New York, Mamdani centered his campaign on New York.
Yeah. Yep.
He wasn't trying to figure out national issues or anybody other cities' issues. It was like, it's all of us ride the bus. It's really expensive for a lot of us. Right? Like, you can't come down to Houston with a free bus program and think people are going to get excited about it when 4% of Houstonians ride the bus, right? In New York, 20% of them do that, right?
And the subways.
On freeze the rent. That is a policy uniquely within the mayor of New York's realm, in which he can decide, are we stopping the rent for these municipally financed homes or not, right? We don't have that in Houston. So I feel like if DSA tries to replicate things they've seen in New York, in Colorado, the mistake wouldn't be that they adopt the same style of messaging or broader points. The mistake would be that it's not rooted in Houston.
It's not tailored in Houston.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, then isn't the move for DSA? Because I've seen DSA has been in a lot of collaborative posts with groups that have been working on the budget stuff with the city council. So it's like, they're not trying to copy paste. They are trying to be involved with what's going on in Houston and what's organizing. So I think that part may be
That was part one of what I think needs to happen.
So what's the part two?
Part two is it has to be black, and it has to be brown. Right, and DSA has some organizing to do in Houston before they are that. Like, we were, man, we were talking about like distinctions between democratic socialists and socialists and social democracy and all these other things. And you mentioned social abolition, right? I feel like that is closer to where the black experience is in America. It exists in abolition. Right.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And the tradition of it, yes, absolutely.
And if that's not where like the root of the local DSA is going to be,
100%,
then it's not going to attract black people or get to them at all. And abolition takes many forms. We can get like, I would rather like not keep that in the meta frame. I'd rather get very material
that's what I was
with that.
Say. That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
We cannot wait for DSA to adopt these things. I believe that the goal should be for a group to come out of this that advocates for black socialism or black social abolitionism, because to me, I don't want to say I coined the term. I just know that I was the first one using that term when I was politically involved as an activist, and then definitely when I ran for Congress.
Yeah.
Because like to me, it's like socialism for the people and abolition for the system, and people be like, "Oh my God, you're a radical." It's like, no, it's rooted in American history. You want to call it Black history, but American history is
right.
Black history,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
And without, like, for example, if the Supreme Court decided to overturn the citizen birthright, then I wouldn't be a citizen anymore. I wouldn't have this privilege if it wasn't for the history of enslaved Black people who had to fight for their citizenship,
Citizen birthright.
for their
Yeah.
citizen birthright.
13,
So it's
14,
like
15,
that's
15 amendments, yeah.
that's why Black history is American history. Everything that was achieved through Black liberationist movements has benefited people who are non-Black, including myself. And so when I say like I'm an abolitionist, I'm just following in tradition.
Exactly.
I'm just following an American tradition.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
yeah.
think people understand how American abolition is and how positive it is. When
Yeah.
you hear the word abolition, you think of a negative.
Right.
It negates something.
Right.
You're getting rid of something.
Right.
The public school system is an abolitionist, you know,
Right,
policy in America,
right.
Like free breakfast in schools,
Listen.
ambulances. These are abolitionist policies, right? The abolition comes in, you have to displace something
Right.
somewhere where we are expending economic resources that has to be displaced so that this new thing can be created, right? We call it free breakfast for kids. We call it public education, right? All this stuff. And that comes from Black communities because those are the communities who are at the short end of the stick of resources and where resources are going, right? And when we get to the local level, that is police. We spend $1 billion on policing. If you gave me $1 billion to solve any problem in the city of Houston year after year, every year like clockwork, I would have solved it twice.
Listen.
It's just the math. Like if I need more money to do something and you give it to me and I don't do it, then maybe no more money is not the answer.
I
But
think the wild thing about it too. I love this conversation, and I think there's a very real way. Like the only thing that I'm going to add here is I guess more historical things. I've been reading James Baldwin recently because I have to write something on him. But he was criticizing Richard Wright in a piece that I was like reading, like this early 20th or early to mid 20th century writer. And Richard Wright writes this book called Native Son. Ralph Ellison writes a book called Invisible Man. In both of these books, at some point in time, there is a white Marxist figure that shows up, and there is inevitably a clash between the Black person or the Black protagonist in the novel and the white Marxist socialist. And I'm only bringing it up to say that the disparity or the disjoint between socialist approaches and Black people is old. Like this has been, and in large part, it's because the messaging is terrible. Like I don't know how else you can't walk up to a Black person who has this history and lives out of this tradition of abolition, because the thing that motivates, and I think y'all are right about this, the thing that motivates a lot of Black folks is this drive toward freedom. It's a freedom drive. That's the abolitionist piece, right?
Yes.
You see what I mean? And so, but the socialist part is about material equity and material equality. Right. And so the discourse of freedom doesn't always factor into the DSA's messaging, even though nationally they have incredible policies, right? Like, and nationally they are about, at the very least, the abolition of ICE, right? They're about a certain kind of like abolitionist politics, but they don't name it as, I'm trying to get us free. We trying to get, do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? But and freedom is something that seems central, I think, to Black American life.
Yes. And
listen, I'm not asking to be an everyday Black person on the street, but that's what I genuinely think is like.
I think even if you don't have a word for it as the everyday Black person on the street, you still you cannot live in the wake of the afterlife of slaves, as you said,
yeah,
and not feel a sense of freedom is what motivates me in this North American wilderness.
It's so
primarily,
true. Like, you know what I mean? Because you feel the constraints on the day to day,
daily.
Just, you know what I mean? Just walking down the street,
or when you walk into that office and you were one of 3 Black people there, and you've got to do this duality game. Right? You want freedom.
Yes.
And no Black person interacts with America in the most innocuous of interactions or to the most violent without wanting and feeling, even if it is not at the top of their mouth, a sense of freedom,
Yep.
right?
And I think that language, I love that. I think the language of freedom is what the DSA is missing. And I also think, in relation to what you all said, this is where Black and Latino people have to get involved. Like, if we're going to do a socialist, like, the DSA has to recruit these Black folks, recruit Latino and Latina folks, or find ways to build coalitions where it makes sense to us.
And
Do you know what I mean?
and make a committee, right? Because they love their committees.
Yeah,
So
the
DSA
loves a good
DSA have
committee,
a good
yeah.
committee. So if you're gonna recruit Black people to be like part of the DSA, make sure you put a committee for Black socialists, because you do have to recognize at this point in this American political experiment is that when you try to make it a big party tent, what do you call it, like a big tent party and all that like that, well, who are the servers? And who's actually chilling,
Right.
and who's sitting down, and who's doing the work. Nah, like, if we're gonna really split this down the middle, then like, let's have our own tent, but we still, it's the same state fair,
And we
right?
have the same conversation.
Because that's where I want to at least do the pushback on this big moment, because what happens whenever they do have this narrative like mix up is that the moment there's a first failure, who's the fall person?
Black people.
All right, then. So it's like we have to like avoid these narratives, and like I think it's time to talk about it because it's getting closer thematically. All right, I'm gonna do this one more time, because then on the second hour, like, it's gonna be like, phone calls, and I want to make sure everybody has all the information. So there is the phone number. It is 713-668-1230. That is 713-668-1230. At 8 o'clock, I will open up the phone lines, and you will be able to join. Listen, I know that right now we don't have specifically a Black woman in the studio. Believe me, I try to schedule somebody to be here, but I am hoping certain callers do call for their perspective, because we have to have a Jasmine Crockett conversation, Jordan, and I'm putting you on camera, and Biko, we have to have a Jasmine Crockett conversation, because Black women are very upset about what happened to Jasmine Crockett with this race, and specifically the primary that she lost against James Tallarico. And I thought that maybe the story kind of go away, but then there's these little things that keep making it come back up. The most recent was the Democrats had his Texas convention last weekend, I think it was.
Yeah, something like that.
And James Tallarico was there. All these other folks were there. Jasmine Crockett was a no-show.
Oh, I didn't know this. She didn't show up to the convention.
No, not at all. So like and you could say arguably, the most biggest nationally recognized Texas politician of the last year or two, or at least one of them.
For sure. Yeah.
If not the.
If not that was the whole point of why people were excited about her running, right?
Right.
So she didn't show up to this. Okay, that is not a good sign. Why? Because then they used that absence as like, ooh, she's not getting behind James Tallarico, and then the narrative in mainstream media, which is intentional. What's that thing about where they try to make you already agree with their perspective by just exposing it to you over and over again?
What do you mean, saturation, or like, I don't know.
I forget. It will come to me. But basically, the media keeps putting this thing like, what's going
hyper-normalization.
something like that, right? Where they just want to keep making this an issue to talk about. Jordan, I know you've talked about the Jasmine Crockett conversation and other platforms. So this is not going away. Now, why do I feel like we need to talk about this? Because we need to clear out this issue before we enter the most existential election that we've had in a long time.
Okay.
I think we can all be on the same page that Republicans have shown themselves fully as the most corrupt party. I said the word the most, not the only corrupt party. And they are right behind Donald Trump, following every order. And if we want Trump to go down, we want the party to go down. So it's like anybody that's a Republican needs to be thrown out of office. We agree on that. But what I don't think is helping this moment is making Jasmine Crockett like this symbol of Black women being dismissed, blamed for failures, and just overall rejected in the political sphere, right? Because Jasmine Crockett, in my opinion, is not a good example for that. It's not a good symbol. It's not a good stand-in for this. Like,
why do you think that is?
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
Because she is a political operative that makes political decisions. And in this moment, when you talk about the DSA movement, one of the biggest things that helped boost up the DSA movement is that DSA was pro-Palestine very much since the start.
Okay.
And so when
So you think her stance on Palestine is
I think the fact that she's taking AIPAC money is hurting her,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so you have an entire voting bloc that's growing, pushing democratic socialists and more progressive people along, rejecting any scent of AIPAC, Israel support.
Within democratic politics, the AIPAC question is the number one.
It's the
litmus test
central. It's
question.
the litmus test.
Let's make it what it is and be clear about it. The thing is, the Israel conversation, the Palestinian genocide, is our historic litmus test of our time. We thought we were going to get at this point at some point, and it's here.
Yep.
Everybody now, just like people used to say, like back during World War II, and you saw what was going on with the Holocaust and all that, and like the way that they were treating Jewish people, like that's what prompted us to go in and join the fight after Pearl Harbor and all these things. Like they like talk about it as the moral, ethical dilemma of the century. Well, Palestine is the moral, ethical dilemma of this century, and it's making or breaking political campaigns. And the fact that and it doesn't look good, because you have to understand, if you are a Jasmine Crockett fan and you don't know about how she's been moving, then this is why I want to make this setup and show you where I'm informed by, right?
Yeah.
My own experience, but also what's going on. Cori Bush was one of the original squad members that won in 2018 from St. Louis,
Yeah.
right?
I messed with
Pro-Palestine from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yep.
AIPAC said, we want you out, so we're going to go ahead and fund your primary challenger and put millions of dollars into that campaign. She lost.
Yep.
Now she's going up for for the rematch against this AIPAC candidate incumbent, right? And we mentioned it in the show before. Jasmine Crockett showed up to St. Louis. She's originally from St. Louis, and went to one of his fundraisers and spoke very glowingly about him.
Yeah.
And when the backlash hit, she said, well, we haven't officially endorsed anybody. Our organization hasn't officially endorsed anybody. Even though you were on the mic saying all these lovely things at a fundraiser.
It's not a good look. Yeah.
So it's not a good look. You are by proximity, and then you have your own AIPAC funding.
It's not. I want to say it's not a good look for those of us who are progressively minded, who are thinking about politics at the local, national, federal, and local, state, and national and international levels. I think it's a bad look. My concern, maybe it's a pushback, I don't know. My concern here is that I don't know if the average everyday black Texan voter is thinking internationally in that way.
Well, no.
Do you see what I mean? Like that's the one thing, and I want to be clear, Stevens. That doesn't take away from your point.
But they are, because the whole thing about
go ahead.
even Republicans, they're saying like, wait, why are we spending so much of our money over there? Why does Israel have universal health care?
Sure.
Tucker
Carlson talks about that all the time. They have plenty of
they do,
right-wing media that's pushing that message to them.
They're being subsidized. I mean, Israel is heavily being subsidized by U.S. taxpayer dollars. We're clear about that.
Exactly. And so when all these candidates are saying like, well, I am for not using our tax dollars on genocide and killing innocent civilians and just completely destroying Lebanon right now, and all this war, which is also hurting our gas prices, which is also hurting our pockets.
Right.
I'm not for that. Israel is all up in that. So that's why it's not just like, oh, it's a younger generation, internationalist view, moral thing. It's it's hitting my pockets, and Republicans are saying we don't want that anymore. Why do you support Israel so much?
So what do we do with? I'm riding with you now.
Right.
What do you do with James Tallarico, who y'all probably follow him closer than I do?
Yeah.
What do you do with James Tallarico, who from the little that I've heard from him, I've looked on his stuff, he is silent on this issue.
I think he's spoken out against.
Now he's come out and said something.
Because if he was an AIPAC funded guy, they would have been all over the feeds already.
I don't think he's AIPAC. I don't think he's AIPAC. But he was relatively muted relative to
because
I would say muted is a good way to describe
it.
He certainly doesn't run from it, and he makes it clear that it's a genocide. Like we can look that up to see if he's actually said the word genocide.
Right.
He's made it pretty clear that I have a firm view on this, right? And he doesn't take AIPAC money, and I think that's a difference. But I also think two things can be true at once.
Right, absolutely.
I think that black people, and in this particular instance, black women, can have a very strong opinion of the racial mudslinging that happened to Jasmine Crockett.
Which was nuts.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Because as we discussed earlier, like all black people feel a need for freedom. Black women feel it in a different way entirely, right? And to see one of your symbols, at least, have to be beat down like that. Because here's the message that Black Texas women voters received when Jasmine Crockett entered the race. Like, if she wins, we lose. A Black woman is unelectable. This particular loud, sassy Black woman is especially unelectable.
Yeah, those skirts are framed.
And that is terrible to frame it that way. But at the same time, Texas is not there demographically to actually push along a candidate like Jasmine Crockett.
But do you think Tallarico
Why do you say that?
Do you think Tallarico can beat Paxton though?
Because if Texas isn't ready, why are they asking Jasmine Crockett to come ride for this man and campaign?
And that's where I'm saying they shouldn't be asking Jasmine Crockett to do any of that.
100% agree with that. 100%.
Really?
They shouldn't be asking Jasmine Crockett a thing, bro. If you want to run a dog whistle campaign, it was a light whistle. I'm not going to say that he was like, you know, but it was a light, like.
I mean, I missed the I missed the whistles because the thing is this: everything seemed.
It started with Colin Allred.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's where the whistle came from.
Yeah.
There was only one whistle. I'm not gonna sit up here and say James Tallarico is a whistler. All
right,
I'm not saying that at all. Please don't blow up my DMs. Like the man's a good guy.
All right.
He's fine.
Let's give Colin Allred his moment because that's where the whole James Tallarico, you know. Some influencer locally said that they heard James Tallarico call Colin Allred's campaign mediocre.
Said, I thought I was going to, more or less paraphrasing because the exact phraseology has never come out, but he more or less said to this Black influencer, I thought I was going to run against a mediocre Black man, not a strong, smart, charismatic Black woman or something like that. So it was both.
No, that's not what I heard. I heard something about just calling his campaign mediocre, and then
that's how he tried to clear it up. So the woman that he spoke to says a different version of things than what he fessed to, and so the issue is Black women and this Black man agrees with whatever that woman said because James Tallarico is incented to clean this up as soon as it goes public.
Right.
I wish we knew more about the influencer and her allegiances because you have to understand AIPAC pays $7,000 for social media influencers per post.
Is she one of the people that were paid?
I'm just trying to say the culture of influencers is out there when it comes to politics. If she's a ride or die Jasmine Crockett person and Jasmine Crockett's AIPAC, so I'm guessing that they're also AIPAC.
She was close
guilty
enough
by association.
Tallarico felt comfortable enough with her to say something like that Black man is mediocre in some way.
Now
she says he was describing Colin Allred. He says he was describing Colin Allred's campaign.
Well, this is the thing. I agree with James Tallarico that Colin Allred ran a mediocre campaign because first he lost to, who was it, Ted Cruz? If you can't beat Ted Cruz in 2005.
Here's the thing. Whether or not he was talking about the campaign or the man, he's making this parallel. He's comparing two things, right? It's that kind of patronizing, backhanded compliment of Jasmine Crockett.
If you don't vote for me, you ain't Black type of, like it's given a patronizing.
I think that's way what
Joe
Biden said that was horrible.
But I'm saying you don't think a certain kind of like racial discourse that Tallarico was playing into, like,
possibly,
I want to be clear, and I want to be clear. This does not clear Jasmine Crockett's name. Like this is not like this is not me pushing back against.
Right.
Against the political principle and against what you're saying on principle. I'm thinking pragmatically about the demographic lay of the land and a lot of this. This is where I think I'm pushing back against both of y'all, I guess. Like, she has to, if Tallarico is to have any modicum of a chance.
Oh yeah, she's got to come out.
She's got to come out strong.
No,
and if she
how
does
is that
it,
her problem?
I'm not saying it's a problem, but I'm saying like he can't win without.
No,
he cannot win
that's
with
right.
that.
They're tied right now. He can't win without.
He can't win without that massive block of people.
That's what we need to stop framing it as. What you said there, yes, this massive block of people, but not her coming out. Like if she doesn't come out.
Who's gonna bring that group of people out?
Our own selves when he comes down to Houston and sits down with the right community leaders to actually speak on deliverables. Because now this is where I said that I'm talking from my experience. Right. When we put together those coalitions in 2016
1000%.
to get rid of Ron Hickman, who was the Republican sheriff,
and Devin Anderson,
who was the Republican district attorney. Now, Black organizers were the ones aiming at Devin Anderson because she had placed a gang injunction that basically put a description 1000%. That if you have a tattoo, you're a gang member.
And
if you talk to a gang member, you're a gang member.
And they were clearing out their war. Like, keep going.
If you walk down this block that's
Right.
designated as a gang member place, then you're a gang member.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So the black community was organizing against Devin Nunes. The Latino X mostly
Right.
undocumented community was organizing against Ron Hickman because
287G and his
287G
collaboration
with
right?
ICE.
Yeah, exactly.
2016.
Exactly.
Been on it.
What happened was we brought together those coalitions of both parties plus some other ones and said we need to get both of them out. You help us get our guy out.
Yeah, we'll help you get your
We'll
girl
get
out.
your girl out. Mind you, we said get our guy out, not get our guy in, because we were not saying, "Hey, Ed Gonzalez, can't wait for you to be a sheriff.
Nah,
You
that's
are
true.
our
And
guy."
we never said that.
We
with old
sat
girl
down
Kim
with
Ogg
him
either.
and we said, "Hey, this is what we need you to do."
We did. I remember this. I mean, we told Kim Ogg the same thing. We told her she couldn't use the hashtag on social media.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Here's the difference. You're coming from movement politics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And those two politicians are not movement politicians. Like neither James
That's- yeah.
Talarico nor Jasmine
right,
Crockett are movement
but
politicians.
I don't need a movement politician to understand people power,
Right.
because Ed Gonzalez wasn't a movement politician.
But they benefited. But Stevens, you know, they benefited from the movement work that we were doing at that
Right, they
time.
did, they did.
Like Kim Ogg doesn't win without the massive discontentment around Devin
Absolutely.
Anderson that we high key, and quite frankly, and you know this, like the other part about this too is like Ed Gonzalez doesn't win if you and I don't blow up Ron Hickman's spot at the debate, right? Like I think that's a huge, you know what I mean? And so they may not be movement politicians, but I'm genuinely curious. Like, so what's the strategy on the ground to garner the kind of excitement that Talarico would need from a specific, in this case, black women?
I don't think they're pursuing black people.
And
I think
that's the thing.
But here's the calculus they've made. What we're talking about is how do you get black Democrats, more black Democrats to come out? The Talarico campaign has made the decision, how do we get light, soft Republicans to come out from
That's
the
that's a nasty game.
That's what they've decided.
See, but you know what? And this is I'm glad we're talking about this because the national is now seeping into the local. This has been a play out of the Democratic playbook for at least the last
Right.
two election cycles. We
doesn't
saw this
work.
particularly. See, but the thing about it is with Kamala Harris, it didn't. Like Joe Biden could pull I'm just an old white guy, what do I know? And then a couple of moderate Republicans who aren't with Donald Trump's antics will flip sides. Kamala Harris pulled the same stunt. Had old girl, what's her name? One of them.
Liz Cheney.
There we go. Liz Cheney kicking it for it, all the things. And she, and I mean, listen, if she had more time, maybe things could have been different, but took a massive L.
Yeah.
I don't think that strategy, I don't know what Talarico's thinking, but that feels like a failed strategy, especially in Texas.
I think
Right.
it's the road they've been forced down because Jasmine Crockett is not going to take the field and save this man. And so what they've decided is what we need to do is talk about how awful of a human being Ken Paxton is so that we can either get people to not show up or possibly recruit disaffecteds. But I think
Right, and this is why I had deemed James Talarico with the title of the Big White Hope. The Great White Hope. Why? Because he's hoping that he is a savior. And if you know the history of the term the Great White Hope, it was because Jack Johnson, the first black champion, was
Washing
knocking out
people in the ring.
everybody, and they were and they had to find a white fighter that could beat him. So he was the Great White Hope.
Yeah.
So in this case, James Talarico is not trying to beat a black person. He's trying to win Texas without black people.
Yeah.
And solely with white people being his main base.
And Latinos. He does have
And
a white
Latinos.
and Latino coalition.
Because
that he's put
Latino,
together.
when I say white people, assume white Latinos are included in that because that's the whole issue with the Hispanic identity. Now, let me just be clear on one thing when it comes to the dynamic with Jasmine Crockett and why I want to separate this thing about this race needing her, because when it came to the primaries, James Talarico won the Democratic primary and was the first Democratic primary winner to do so without winning Houston and Dallas. Right?
And San Antonio, right? He won San Antonio.
He won San Antonio.
Okay, he won San Antonio.
It's Houston, Dallas, because that's where major concentration of black people are.
Right.
So, hey, Dallas, handle your business. Houston, there's enough organizing that's been happening in Houston for the past 10 years to make this man sit down and be like, what are you going to do for the community here? If you want to have somebody attached to this race as far as how you can elevate black folks to get what they want and need from this campaign promises to possibly execute, you have somebody you can get behind here in Houston. Her name is Letitia Plummer.
I'm with that. I think that I think what you're describing is I think Letitia Plummer needs to convene those local people that you're talking about and be the broker to the Talarico campaign. And it's like, Talarico,
Right.
you need to come down here to Harris County, bring resources
Right.
to the campaign.
Right.
And quite
then
frankly,
you need to meet with these people and meet these demands.
and quite frankly, like and find out who the power broker. I mean, I'm not going to name all the different places, but I'm thinking institutionally here, black churches, particular barbershop. Like there's a particular
He
has
Wheeler. He needs to be,
and Church Without Walls, Fountain of Praise. Like he's got to hit up all of those
Right.
particular places
All
in a
those
way,
things.
but and not show up on Sunday, wave
Not
his
in a wave
hand.
type. Because he's like, we haven't even talked about his number one weapon.
Look.
The man is in seminary. Like he could be whooping it with black audiences
and he
every
has.
Sunday. He should have just a radio hour in reading Revelations, man.
He
Like,
has.
shit.
He has gone to some black churches. I've
Like-
seen some footage of him like at the pulpit, right?
But does he teach?
Can he preach?
Yeah, can he preach?
mean-
Yeah, that's the question.
Can he preach?
he can't do the cadences and such, but he does hit some notes, right? But
Do
you
they
know,
get caught? Do they get like? Does he move people? I
Yeah.
genuinely have no
I mean, there
clue.
was people behind him reacting and moving. So I mean,
I'm
No,
thinking-
but
yeah,
is
yeah.
the spirit moving in the church when the man speaks?
Like
Dude,
you got to
know
think
when
about.
the spirit moves.
Listen, this
I
is,
would say that the day that there is a white politician that can move at the pulpit because they have some religious background, there you have your next Kobe, right? Because all of a sudden now, if you can move with the spirit, then you can actually get
The
folks
problem is
to
when
be, like,
whenever
motivated.
Well, go ahead, Biko.
the one thing I'm thinking. I mean, y'all know I've been to seminary before. Like I went to divinity school, so like part of the thing. We talked about this last time we talked about Talarico.
Mm-hmm.
Preaching is an art. Like it is not the mere gift of oratory. If it was, if it was, there'd be a very real way that some of the best speech writers would like, and some of the best speeches that are given would move black folks, and sometimes they don't, right? What made Barack Obama, and I'm thinking specifically of Barack Obama, he knew, and I have to say, you all remember this is Emmanuel 9, right? Dylan Roof kills all the 9 people in the basement of the church. And the funeral happens for Clementa Pinckney, right? And Barack Obama's not a great preacher, but he knew, and this is what I mean by he understood the art form. Listen,
Amazing Grace.
let me be clear. The speech itself was actually kind of trash, right? And what I like it was
Flat.
he was just standing there like, there was something about the way the family is giving grace.
Yeah.
Giving grace. He says this like 3 or 4. You know what I mean? He just repeats it.
Yes.
And everybody, and I'm kind of like, all right, this is kind of useless. And then what does he do? Right? This is what I mean by the art of homiletics. What he does is you hear, and he can't really sing, but you hear him begin that amazing grace. And what do? They stand up, the organ, listen.
Oh, so he just gets it started
And
because he knows the cues.
but that's the
Somebody
listen,
gonna get on
and
the
that-
organ
and
if
that
I
move-
do this.
And listen, and I love that you're recognizing this because exactly, and
baby, right? Like
the
Barack
bishop stands
knows.
up. The bishop
Yeah.
stands up. And they throw their hand. And I'm looking at Taylor. And exactly how he does it. And I'm looking at. No, this is it.
But Barack Obama's a cheat code. That's the whole point.
No,
you know?
but also seminary is a cheat code too, in the sense of like this is what I don't know. That's why I'm like here. I don't know. I haven't seen him. So, but I'd be curious to see what Talarico looks like in a liturgical setting.
Okay.
What does he look like if given the opportunity to speak in a liturgical setting? Right? Because right now, even though I don't preach, I learned how to do it. Like there's an art, there's a craft to this thing.
Right.
And so I'm curious how that would be his way. And it is a cheat code if he figures it out
Yes.
with black people.
Yes.
But I don't know if he's going to figure
It's his
that
number
out.
one weapon. It's like I can't believe
black
that-
churches are still one of the biggest institutions in black communities in the
and
United
that tells
States.
me he doesn't have any
good
of the
ground
right
game.
black people around.
He
him
don't,
in
he don't
his
got a good ground.
campaign.
He don't got a good ground game.
No.
From what I can tell,
No.
I don't think he got a good ground game relative to black folks. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
But
at all.
also,
But he's killing it in progressive white spaces.
and you know what's crazy?
Right.
And that's the type of preacher he sounds like, a progressive white.
Okay.
You already know I'm going with this?
And Frank. No, but what's interesting? I think Stevens, you have convinced me that he doesn't necessarily need Jasmine Crockett's endorsement if he found other avenues
Right.
to engage with these communities.
And mind
Yes.
you, the
Yeah,
whole
I feel you on it. I feel you. I
And
understand.
let me be clear. It's not on Jasmine to swoop in and save this man
No.
either, bro.
Right.
It's just
no,
not.
exactly.
No, it's not a job. No, it's not.
And that's where we're approaching the 8 o'clock. Actually, it's 8 o'clock hour now. And
that hour went by low key quick.
I'm gonna open up the phone lines in a second, but I just want to wrap up my thesis because that's the whole point. Multiple things could be true. That Jasmine Crockett should not have to swoop in to save this campaign. Also, Jasmine Crockett is the wrong person for this moment. it's almost like say, don't Kamala my Crockett, right? Because the Kamala Harris situation was different because she was the presidential nominee. She was unfortunately had to do it short, like 178 days.
And they made her run Joe Biden's campaign.
And they made her run Joe Biden's campaign.
That's what they did, yeah.
And till this day, the DNC has still not released the analysis and autopsy of that campaign, which is what every political party does. Every presidential election, they do their data, they do their polls. And why? Because the leaks have been coming. People did not vote for Kamala because of her stance on Israel. So
she lost a lot of people in Detroit. Michigan,
yeah, because Detroit is a heavy Muslim population.
She lost a lot of people in Michigan behind
so
that.
what I'm saying is,
there's some Philly votes on that too.
Yeah,
she missed out on some Philly.
So what I'm saying is,
no, you're right about this. Philly's another big one too.
The zeitgeist of this political moment around the country is that it's affordability and economics, but also the moral, like litmus test of simple like. Are you recognizing the genocide?
Do you fund and support a genocide, yes or no?
That's a genuine question.
Easy question for most of us.
No?
You know?
Oh, you've been in office and you voted for that? Then you're out.
Especially
you want
now.
to be in office and you support it, you're not going in.
Especially now because it's become increasingly easier to claim and name what Israel's doing as a genocide. I mean, I remember when I was naming it as a genocide, like shortly after October 7th. Like I was sitting here like, oh, nah, like they talking about cutting lights off and they talking about taking out water and food. Like I was like, oh no, y'all done lost your mind. Like that nation state is about to do some dirty things to the Palestinians. And at the time, early after, you couldn't like you were risking a lot to do it.
Yes.
But you know, as time went on and the numbers kept climbing,
and people are just watching
and people are watching and see babies and like
CNN
strung
turn
up
them
against
numbers off, just like they did with COVID.
They was just like, you know what, the ticker's too high.
It got a little too higher than I thought it was gonna go. Let's turn that
with
off.
the 5 figures, what? Like, and then you find out how many kids, and so I think
children.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Children. That's half the population is under 17. Like you're killing kids.
You're killing kids,
and you're destroying entire bloodlines. And I think as the thing went on, it became increasingly easier to say, nah, this is nasty. And then, you know, so I think the turning point, and I'm only bringing this up because I think now you're right with Crockett. Like she can't fit this moment because at least, especially after South Africa brings Israel to the International Criminal Court, I want to say in like 2024, after that happens, the turn happens internationally. People start looking at Israel crazy. Yeah. And I think Crockett, I don't know if she's still endorsed by AIPAC or not. I have no clue. But it seems like she is, and I think you're right. She could lose. Her endorsement might stand to lose a lot of people.
Right.
White progressives.
For sure. And he's got to lock those down.
Question, right? Like white progressives are like, I'm out.
Yep,
right?
yeah, that's true.
That's the one thing about Jasmine Crockett, right? Like I can understand why people are upset about what happened to her, but Stevens, your critique of her is dead on. Like it's the moral question of our time.
Of the 21st century.
And it should be easier for black people because that's an apartheid regime that looks like
Ta-Nehisi Coates
1920s Jim Crow.
You
should be able to recognize that and easily say,
He was like, yo, this joint looks like a colored only found. Like he was like, bro.
When you ask like that stupid question, like, do you support their right to exist? And it's like, I know apartheid when I see apartheid, brother. You're asking a black man if I think the Klan has the right to exist.
What kind of question is that?
So let me go ahead and just, I put it on the screen. It's time for y'all to call in if y'all want to join this conversation, if you want to yell at me or whatever it is. The lines are open, 713-668-1230. That is 713-668-1230. I would love for a black woman to call in and just give me her thoughts because I know black women feel a type of way about Jasmine. And this is where it's like, hey, kind of like that after that first term in Obama, I was like, oh my God, Obama may not be that guy. And I had to make peace with that because, unfortunately, none of the things that he promised was happening. And then it got worse, right? Drone strikes, the porter-in-chief, all sorts of things. Oh, wow, we got multiple lines calling. So I might piss somebody off. All right, let me go ahead.
You were talking about Barack Obama. I know you've got to do your thing, do the screening thing.
Hello, caller.
Hello.
Caller, how you doing? What's your name?
Oh, I'd rather not say.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, go ahead.
So please share your thoughts and what's on your mind.
Okay. So am I on right now?
Yes, you are.
Oh, okay, awesome. I have three, and I'm thinking, Stevens, you identify as a as a black man. I'm not sure.
No, I'm
but-
Colombian. And I identify more as like a mixed mutt of indigenous and European, and maybe somewhere down the bloodline there was somebody black in my family, but yeah.
Oh, okay. So the three men of color
Yes.
on the show, and I kind of feel like, when I see the men who are trying to, put abortion rights in place for for women, having a conversation about this. So
Right.
I hear the conversation, and I wouldn't call myself a I would call myself a supporter, but she lost the race.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I hear a lot of things that don't appear to be, and I'm using my quote fingers, proven.
Okay.
I know that she did receive APAC money, and APAC gives money to everybody. I know that she has spoken against Netanyahu, the genocide on the floor of Congress. I know that has occurred. I also know that Tallarico on the other end has accepted money from APAC lobbyist Marion Adelson, a lot of folks. So his APAC is nuanced, but it has in fact been received.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear a lot of things being thrown out about her. She lost the race, okay? And I know, you're talking and you just kind of hashing things out. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the conversation around her needs to be, anytime you use her name, I wish we would replace Tallarico's name with that and make him, again, as you guys were talking, responsible for his race.
Absolutely.
Making him responsible, and making him responsible. He has been to Houston.
Mm-hmm.
He has met with different people, different gatekeepers, different leaders. Before the primaries, he has not been spending money here. And he has made that deliberate choice not to spend money where he can garner more of the African-American vote. That onus is on him. And so it seems like in a lot of instances, her name gets conflated. And I know she has this fire pack. She's working on down ballot races. She is doing her part, I believe, since her loss to work to advocate, and not to mention she still has a job in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
So to ask her and to feel, and I know, Stevens, you said, you don't feel like she should come out and literally have to stomp and campaign for him, in addition to doing the job that she was elected for before the redistricting actually occurred. I mean, there's just so much stuff that her name is being invoked. And I think when she's spoken about in that way, you talk about the media and how the media is actually trying to portrays this and incites a lot of these things. I think we do a good job of it ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and so I would just, advise you guys to just kind of think about that. And when you're having conversations, because of course it's great to have conversations about these things, but sometimes it just kind of, the framework you use when you're discussing it really, really does matter, especially when people are listening, voters out there. And I thought I heard something about a poll, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, whereas Jasmine, black voters, I'm sorry, not Jasmine Crockett, but black voters, when they did a poll, were the highest group percentage-wise at this point that were voting for Tallarico, or said that they were voting for Tallarico. I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard that there is a poll that actually shows that. So what are we talking about?
Right.
If that is in fact the case, and we still got till November.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting to see, like I said, where he spends his money. The other thing about the DSA, I wanted to say that and I've been looking into this quite a bit, and as a independent / Democrat, how I feel about that, and I think that under the Democratic tent, and I would say for other parties as well, there's a spectrum of voters, and I think that historically capitalism is really what I think a lot of people, because that's what we operate under. So when they think about socialism, they're thinking about that. And I think that some of the underpinnings of the Democratic Party and what they stand for insofar as helping people, with public schools and all of the social services that we have in our community, seeing that underpinning falling out is really, I think, what is helping the DSA and that type of mindset and thought.
Absolutely.
I don't think that and I'm talking about African Americans now. I think the reason why the disconnect is there is because of the capitalist viewpoint. And I think if the DSA is going to make any kind of headway, you need to be on the spectrum for Democrats, not totally trying to, make folks vote, under that flag.
Right.
So that's my mindset about that. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I'll talk about the DSA first, and then move on to what you mentioned about Jasmine Crockett. Well, as far as DSA and when you mention like folks being the capitalism, Democratic Socialists, their aim, as much as the pie in the sky is to have a utopia where capitalism is no longer the lay of the land, that is not necessarily what they're literally trying to shoot for. There is more of a pragmatic approach with Democratic Socialists, because like there is that range and that spectrum you mentioned, because you could talk about Marxism, communism, and then it starts blending into socialism, and then you got Democratic Socialism. So Democratic Socialism is a pragmatic, like, hey, where are my tax dollars being spent? Can it just be spent on me? And that right there is like, well, the tax dollars are still going to come from a 9-to-5 job. It's still going to be a capitalist system sustaining that. And, capitalism will still thrive. Matter of fact, under Mandani, after all this hoopla of like, New York is going to get, ransacked and all the billionaires and millionaires and rich people are going to leave, actually, they just had their biggest growth in what do you call those office spaces and buildings, because like people are now investing in New York more, because now there's all this like optimism of how things are shifting around with the budget and people having more affordability being thrown at them. Now there's businesses, opportunities, and all that. So it's like Democratic Socialism, when it's working just a little bit, all of a sudden capitalism, it benefits and boosts. So imagine if people had more funds to spend on all the things, because they didn't have to spend it on medical bills, college education, or health insurance, none of that. So it's like that's the DSA's job is to educate people on that. And I think that's what's happening right now. People having a real educational, because we could go back deep in history. The original Democratic Socialist was FDR. And the reason why they term limited him is because he was winning too much. He was he was 4 terms.
Didn't you win 4 of them?
It was 4 terms. And like, nope, just two, right?
There were other situations within that politically as well, World War II, and a lot of different things that were going on where they didn't necessarily want to have another president in. But your point is well taken. I think that putting that under the spectrum of the Democratic Party, I think is going to be helpful, and if it presented in the right way, and I think I mentioned that before. If it's presented in the right way, I think that is the key to bridge the gap, so that Democrats could tell people more about what they're for versus what Trump is doing,
right?
And to have that focus shift. So Okay, what about what are your thoughts about what I mentioned about
Okay,
Jasmine Crockett?
and I'll pass this on to Biko as well. But like when it comes to Jasmine Crockett, what you said regarding like just like this framing and mentioning her and getting her involved, and you mentioned it yourself, she lost. Like it's done at this point, and we shouldn't have any more expectation. Matter of fact, yes, you should be like finishing your term and working on that, because her free time on like helping APAC incumbents didn't look so good. So she really just be focusing on Congress right now and possibly.
And that was a lot of that you said, Steve. That wasn't. That was at a private fundraiser that this gentleman had invited her to. Cori Bush did not say anything about Jasmine Crockett or what was going on with that. And I think that is, again, I think that's us, kind of this crabs in a bucket type situation.
And I think that's the great example right there.
I agree with Dr. Biko said. I don't think I don't think black folks are really tuned in to a lot of that. They are, I believe, more concerned about inflation and gas prices. Not to say that Israel and the genocide. I think that this is something that, of course, this is something that needs to be addressed in Israel and what they're doing there and all of that. But I don't think that we need to regulate that all the way down to Jasmine Crockett.
Exactly.
I just don't think so.
I agree with you.
Hearing that.
Yeah,
but anyway,
and,
go ahead.
And what you mentioned about Miriam Adelson donating to James Tallarico while he was in the state legislature, that wasn't necessarily AIPAC funds. That was her own personal funds. She is a pro-Israel supporter, big Trump supporter. But the reason
how can you be a pro-Israel supporter, these people that are giving and say it's different. I understand AIPAC is its own organization, but it's still the same money, the same mindset. Okay, that's my point.
But Miriam Adelson at that time had just purchased the San Antonio Spurs, and she wanted gambling legalized in Texas. So she was paying for a specific reason, right? She was like getting help for a specific reason.
You think that's? I think that she was paying for a lot of different reasons.
Right,
probably that was one.
Right, but
I'm just saying you can't. This Jasmine. Okay.
No, I'm not discounting. I'm not discounting Jasmine. I'm not trying to say like this is why James. Look, I don't like James Tallarico. Like that's the thing. Like
I don't dislike him.
Right.
I don't think he has. I don't dislike him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he's okay. I think that a lot of this is like I said earlier. Her name is being used.
Right.
And we're discussing her and and it's just like, why are we not discussing? We always get sidetracked. Everywhere her name, you would use it. Use James Tallarico's name and reach out. Talk about his people, his campaign, and what he's doing,
right? And
have that same energy focused on him and his campaign instead of her. And what I see is focused on her. And not so much him. He's brought up after the conversation about her. So I don't know. That's just
you're calling out and highlighting exactly what it was in the center of this. Is like, why are we having this conversation so much when we should be focusing on how he can connect with the coalitions, specifically like in Houston and Dallas.
He could do. Yeah, and what he could do. What he could do for our communities. What is he going to do? What can he do? Just like you're applying for any job in corporate America or anywhere else. He already has a platform that was similar to hers. What are the items on the platform? What are the top 5? How are you? What's the time frame for you to, complete these, you think, and then come back to us and touch base and give us updates, make adjustments if necessary. Those are the kind of conversations that need to be happening, and I think the public and the voters would appreciate those conversations as well, not just the gatekeepers and the inside, politicos. So anyway, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the call. Biko, you have thoughts?
Yeah, I was gonna hop in here and just say a couple things just by way of clarification. Partly because I think the caller brought up some really, really interesting and good points. And this is sort of to piggyback off of you and Stevens, but also to sort of piggyback off what the caller said too. The DSA, forgive me for being the nerd like the 30th time, right? The DSA is not orthodox socialist like doctrine. They do not practice orthodox socialist ideology as such has a lot more to
They don't practice any.
No, like no. I mean, to
They're
be
just
frank,
Democrats. They're just very left Democrats.
They love to call each other comrade. Okay, you better respect the culture.
But they're not.
They're not socialist.
But they're not advocating for state ownership over particular institutions, private commodities. They're not advocating for like. There's a certain way that like part of socialist ideology is that the power of the means of production is in the hands of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Democratic socialists don't necessarily. They're not necessarily invested in that. Like Mamdani's not going to the millionaires and saying like, yeah, New York City owns this now, fam. Like it's not, you know what I mean? That's not what he's doing. What he's doing is saying, listen, you make X amount of dollars, I'm going to tax you higher, right? And so I don't share that to poo-poo on the collar, to sort of like denigrate or anything. I just wanted to bring that up to say that yeah, there's a massive spectrum within the context of the Democratic Party. I don't necessarily know if that's a good thing, but I do know one of the most frustrating things about our contemporary discursive moment when it comes to politics is Democratic socialists are being called socialists because it's in their name. But when you think about a certain kind of like socialist political economy, it is when the state controls particular goods. And that's like they they control the way in which food moves, the way in which healthcare moves, the way in which the way in which housing is like the state controls those things, not even as a grip on it, but as a way to sort of distribute equally the resources, right? And the DSA is not interested in that. So that was the thing I was just going to say about the DSA. I do think in a very real way we can focus too much on Jasmine Crockett. A part of my thought here, and you know, I have to concede to the black woman on the call, but part of my thinking here though is, one, as a black man, my horizon for thinking is black, right? So I think about the black person first.
Right. No.
You know, I hate to be like that, but that's
the thing. I want to make that point right there. And before you continue, it's like that's not a thing that you need to pause and be like, oh, you know. White people think about white people first before anything else.
Right.
Latino people, I think that's just human nature. Before the empathy kicks in for somebody else, it's like, wait, how does that affect me and my people first? Like, I think that's just human nature.
So exactly, and so I say this to say Jasmine Crockett was in my mouth because she's a black like my horizon for thinking is black, right? And so I'm far more interested in what she's doing. This does not negate. And I think the caller was spot on about this. This does not negate the profound responsibility that James Talarico has. Right? That he has to now, given the particular situation that we're in right now, he has to do all the things because he won. He has to do all the things that Jasmine Crockett was prepared to do, right? In order to win. There's no way. And quite frankly, and I think both of you all have said it and y'all have convinced me of it, it is not Jasmine Crockett's responsibility to shore up black women voters for him. It's not her job to do that. It is on him and his team to show up for these people.
Right, because James Talarico is not running for president.
No.
He is running for Texas
State Senator, yeah.
And specifically, and what is it we call it? Political games? What is it? The
I talk about the game theory in terms
game
of
theory.
Yeah,
game theory.
Politics.
What's the game theory of this? You're in Texas, and the black vote is very important, and the black vote is really concentrated in Dallas and Houston. Do you live in one of those two cities? All right, then y'all should be the ones directing how James Talarico
1000%.
is going to be earning your vote. Not letting the media put in your head that Jasmine Crockett is you by extension. That doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't. What it does is do an incredible disservice to black voters and black women voters in particular. It sort of makes the presumption that they're not intelligent enough to vote on the basis of certain policies. I don't think that's actually true.
And I'm gonna flip this to Jordan in a second because I'm gonna localize this in a very big way, right? Because like I've only known about Jasmine Crockett when she hit the scene 2 years ago. Really?
Yeah, when she started. I think it was blonde, whatever the beach blonde built butch body thing.
Right.
I think that's when she first got on my radar.
That was the moment. That was the moment, right? So I'm gonna really localize this by saying like, look, I've only known her for 2 years. Houston has been kicking. I'm not gonna say, but has been kicking butt left and right because of black women vote, right? And the progressive takeover of Commissioner's Court and the black women judges, all that before Jasmine Crockett was even like
right
a headline. So that's where I'm like, let's continue with focusing on what we've accomplished here in Houston, and y'all be the ones that set the demand, specifically y'all like black women, because the Democratic Party, top Texas Organizing Project, and the Democratic Party here locally, Harris County, they're coming for y'all, right? They're coming to go talk to y'all and like, please come in and help us with this, right? So y'all already have that power. Y'all need Jasmine to like harness it. It's already there. That's why Greg Abbott was in the convention center for Republicans saying like, we're going to invest $250 million into flipping Harris County blue. Why? Because black people already flipped it. Black women already flipped it. You have Letitia Plummer, a black Muslim woman, running for and currently most likely going to be the Harris County commissioner. That's the black woman politician that we should be like rallying around. Because James Tallarico is not running for president of the United States. I don't care how many times MSNBC wants to talk about him and why Jasmine Crockett. Y'all live in Texas. Y'all specifically don't live in Houston. You want to know what's going on? Y'all should be the ones directing the conversation. And Jordan, this is how I want to bring it to y'all because I am excited about what's going on here locally in Houston. I'm passionate about it because of candidates like such as yourself. When you ran last year for city council, it was a very impressive run because you jumped into the race late.
Yeah.
And you still made it, just barely missed the runoff. And that is like a feat in itself because people are like, whoa, where did this come from? And it's because you hit on the notes of localized issues. You spoke in affordability language as well. That's the moment that's currently going on politically. And yourself, along with the ones who are currently in office, who are doing major things regarding affordability and talking about the budget, like Chris Hollins, like Edward Pollard. And then you got Letitia Plummer, who, she gets in this position, then we're talking about Houston having a black Muslim woman as a Harris County judge. Edward Pollard, being talking about the budget. Chris Hollins might be running for mayor next year just to like really take this fight to Whitmire. And then you have yourself, who I hope you run again so we can like really see this momentum of black progressives and socialists and whatever you want to call leftists taking over these spaces because it's what's needed. And I just kind of want to get your thoughts on that because this movement includes you in it.
There's momentum. There's momentum for sure. I think that for a long time when I was at the city, I would tell anyone who would listen, the ground has shifted beneath us. We are led by people who matriculated politically in the 1990s and learned the harsh lessons of you cannot step too far out to your left because we'll whack you, right? And those people, became mayor, became county whatever, and they governed the city with those scars, right? With the Stockholm Syndrome scars of being out of power and coming and finally getting power at a local level. The ground has shifted, and we see that everywhere now. I think that Letitia Plummer definitely captured it in her messaging, right? I think that Chris Hollins has been a great avatar for that messaging as well, and how he's breaking down he's memifying the budget in a way that you can very simply understand. Oh, this is not good, right? Like Chris is not spending a whole bunch of time running you through the ledger. He's just like, here's the meme that spells it out, And that's killer.
It's amazing, actually. Yeah.
Dexter McCoy, another one out in Fort Bend, who's doing his thing. There's a number of like very progressive politicians. I want to see the insurgency come next.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to see what's the we were talking about at the top. Like, what's our version of freeze the rent and free buses and like the just very simple quality of life living things. I call them the politics of the 1st and the 15th of the month. Right? Like that's
good. Yeah.
That's where this local energy has to go towards. So much of the Houston political scene was about, we got to pick up the garbage better, and it floods here a whole lot, and we're going to do something on that stuff, right? And now people are, for the first time in every local poll that's showing, saying, I can't live. I don't have the money to live, right? I wait on dry land between the 2nd and the 14th of the month, right? And then I repeat cycle the 16th through the 31st, right? Like that's how people live. And the ground has shifted so far beneath us. Like, I don't think we've even begun to create the politics nor policy of how to capture the 1st and 15th of the month.
Right.
This is the question. I mean, I don't know how deeply we can get into this, but I would think, what you brought to mind with the 1st and the 15th, the politics of the 1st and the 15th, is I'm thinking about so many people are struggling to live here. And yet the city of Houston has made so many tax abatement agreements with a whole bunch of different sort of corporations.
Meow Wolf has millions of dollars to build Meow Wolf.
Like, do you see me? And
Yeah.
so part of me is like, do you think that part of this new insurgent wave might, part of what their policies might be is like, listen, we can't keep doing this, you don't pay no taxes type of thing for X amount. Like, do you think that'll be part of it? Because, I mean,
We don't have a choice.
like, Houston isn't New York City, right? I'm glad, I appreciate your friend saying we don't have a choice. Houston is not New York City. But one of the things that it could do is say, listen, no more tax abatements for all these developers coming through.
Easy money.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and that would generate so much income for HSD, for who, for all of the different, and so I'm just curious if you think that could be part of a sort of insurgent progressive like platform.
It has to be. I mean, we can take it to the state ledge. Even Republicans are recognizing this, right? Like Paul Betancourt has been telling anybody who listen, I just got a study showing that people are cheating on their property tax exemption. The 10 Gs that he passed to give people a 10G property tax exemption. Corporations are taking advantage of that and filing like 18 of them.
Oh my God.
Wow.
That's money that's not going to
Wow.
HISD. You know what I mean?
What?
Like there's a
Oh, that's
one-to-one correlation on that stuff, right? There's people, and then we have a further exemption for people over 65. Like we cap out what you pay in property taxes. 37-year-olds are taking advantage of that. You know what I mean? There's no watchdog on any of this stuff.
Jeez.
So yeah,
And that's the nerd stuff that, like, look, there's a lot that goes into politics, and not even politics, governing, right?
Right.
And unfortunately, all these decisions are being made while you're at work, and you
Right.
don't have any like time
Right.
to go to the meetings and all that. So it's like you have only a few people who have the time.
Yep.
And those are some of the people that we like to bring on here to
Mm-hmm.
like, connect you with, so you know what's going on here in Houston.
Yeah.
Because it is time for revenge of the nerds, right? The nerds need to come out and be like, look, this is why the budget sucks. And you'd be like, man, I don't understand half what you said.
but I
then
understand Chris Holland's meme about it.
I understand Chris
Got
Holland's
that.
meme. And-
Got
and-
that. That's where the nerds have to move. Like,
Right.
Is the budget balance?
And,
You know?
yeah,
he
that
used
he-
public time to talk about his memes.
his memes, bro. That's how effective they were.
And they
You
were
know
very
what I'm saying?
effective. And that's why it's revenge of the nerds. You know, the nerds that know and understand these things, that can communicate it. The nerds who like to do the things on the internet and social media with the memes. And it's like they cannot contain this. And that's why
Right.
you have so much desperate, like, gasps, throws of on the right, violence, right? And on the left, just smears from the Democrats and the establishment. They just want to like make it seem like they don't know what they're talking about, or they're extremists, or in this case they're yuppies that moved in and gentrified this neighborhood. Now they're voting Democratic Socialists and they're not looking out for the original people who are living there. They want to try to create all these situations where at the end of the day we have now reached a point in history where we're just too broke to care about all of the like shenanigans.
And that's why, and to the caller's point, I mean, she said the social safety net that was barely there is not even threadbare anymore. I'm noticing there's nothing beneath my feet.
It's
Right.
eroded.
That's
It's
why
gone.
there's
Yeah.
this opportunity for DSA to swoop in, as she said, and I
Exactly.
think that's spot on.
Exactly.
But I do like your point about, and not to retread on what we
Yeah.
already discussed, but those are not practicing socialists. I think the term is so scary to people.
I think it is,
But when
yeah.
you talk about, they're really talking about something closer to social democracy.
Exactly,
like
exactly.
A labor party that you would see in Europe or
1000%.
something like that.
1000%,
Right? Like, they
1000%.
bake capitalism into their beliefs.
1000%.
They establish like, we are capitalists. This is a capitalist system. The worker should have a greater share.
Like, that's
That's
genuinely
all,
what.
like, that's it. That's all
Mom
it is.
Donnie is not getting rid of people. It's like
No,
he's just not
it's
getting rid of
like-
corporations. It's not. And I appreciate you for sharing that and bringing that back, because I think that like I won't say real, but like serious, like more orthodox socialists, like the Fred Hampton wing of the Black Panther Party, they were committed to a certain kind of collective politics that was a genuine threat to the system as it stands, right?
It was global. It was international.
It, like they weren't simply thinking about what was happening here. They're getting in conversation with, you know, the Dalit class from India. They're talking
No
with
Viet Cong ever called me nigga.
Do you know what I mean? Like no, real talk. This is genuinely what they're doing.
I'm not going over there.
I'm not doing it, right?
Yeah.
And there's and so I'm so glad that you bring us back there in large part because this is what me and Stevens have been talking about this for the past few weeks. I make a distinction between like politics in the sense of like populations and how to manage them and how to deal with, and then electoral game theory politics. Right. This is the party politics. Like electoral game theory politics is all the theater that we see happening right now. Yes. And for the leftist philosopher in me is I'm interested in that politics that is raising questions about how do populations and communities of people find ways to live together?
Which, to bring it full circle to your original question, Stevens, about the localization of this DSA phenomenon we see in this moment. I agree with Biko in that the local DSA in Houston does not need to try to build party infrastructure and become yet another organization. Right? They need to be in the streets building this power, this new thought. It's not their role to be the electoral guys.
No.
Right? The DSA in New York has electoral power because they first invested in the other side of politics. Right. People and systems and like in Biko, like I agree with everything you've said about socialism, and I would add, the true socialist seeks to build a rival institution.
Yes,
it does not achieve its objectives through electoral politics.
No.
It literally, it doesn't even have to say, I want to abolish that, I want to destroy that.
It just does something else,
It
just
does something else.
It goes
and then it gets popularity, and then that's when it becomes social because the masses are like, I really like that something else.
One of the most profoundly socialist things that the Black Panther Party, I brought this up many times, Stevens, you know this, but one of the most profoundly socialist things that the Black Panther Party did was feed kids for free in the morning. Like it was one of the biggest things. And they didn't sit around and wait and say, you know what, we've got to figure out how to, they just simply said, kids are hungry, they got to eat, we'll find a way to do it. And then they did it.
And the FBI said
and the FBI said, hell no. They were like, absolutely. But
there's literally a document that says the most lethal threat, or the most, I forget exactly the phraseology, but the greatest threat to the internal security of the American people is the Black Panthers free breakfast program.
Listen, because right? And if you think about that, like genuinely like makes sense. And it's such a curious thing because you look and you say they weren't even, it wasn't the guns. Like I think a lot of people like our mythology of the Black Panthers is it was the guns. It was the leather.
No.
It was, we think it was the, we think it was the afros. That was the aesthetics of it all, and it was great. That was, and you need that because, man, if Angela Davis wasn't fine back in the day, right? Like, there's a very real way that all of that matters. But there's also a very real way in which, like, what really made them a threat was, hey, yo, we feeding everybody. And Fred Hampton's looking people, and I think in Chicago, he's saying, listen, I don't care what color you are. Like, you broke like me. We got to figure this out.
He said white power for white people. He said brown power for brown people.
Listen, you got to figure it out. And he's like, listen, when we need to figure something out together, we'll figure it out together.
Yes.
Right. Do you know what I mean? Like, so there's a way that
multiple tents in one festival. Right?
It's true.
Fan fest.
And look, I want to just highlight the point you said about the local Houston DSA, because, like, yes, I agree with all that, and also, we may not know about the things they've been doing, right? Like,
I don't know. Let me say, if anyone from DSA is listening, I do not know what you do.
Exactly.
I am basing this on distance and vibes.
Listen,
so please take into all the listeners, do not view me as an authority
on the DSA at all. Right.
Exactly. And with that, I'm just going to say, because I'm going to have to cut that into a promo and be like, DSA Houston, you're invited to come and talk to us about what y'all doing.
100%.
And 100%. How is that coalition look like nowadays? Because I know you're riding high on some victories from New York and Colorado, and you have high hopes for Houston, because we all have high hopes for this political movement. But, like, at the end of the day is, where are we really? Because we want to make sure if we're going to have these coalitions mean something, it has to be genuine. It has to be authentic. So I'm going to be hollering at you soon. So, yeah, I want to, like, circle one more time to the cast of folks locally that have been doing something, because you weren't here last week.
No, I wasn't.
and you're here today. But what are your thoughts on Chris Hollins in this investigation he opened up?
Bruh, I was hoping we would
get
with
to
the
Chris Brown investigation.
Yeah,
Yes.
with
The Chris v. Chris fight. that we
Did
got?
you,
Yes.
yo? So can you break? Because I watched the press conference
Yeah.
and like, let me tell you something. He be on Instagram doing memes and stuff, but he got up there professional as hell,
no.
and he was like, he got up there. And he was like, listen, like had the speech already,
Wait a
with the
second.
suit on.
No, it was
like-
worse than that because he started the press conference with a
Yes.
right before he pulled out the gun and murked him. Right? It was vicious, man. It was,
He said, I would have it that we would not have to do these things.
His composure, his composure the entire time.
Exactly.
Listen, it was
said-
it was masterful because of like if you know the background information of everything, not just of this press conference,
It's
right?
so true.
For those folks who are just tuning into this moment and like trying to understand what's going on with Chris Hollins. Well, he is the city controller, so he's the one that's supposed to look at the budget and what's going on, what's being spent, and making sure there's no discrepancies, right? And he said, Houston Chronicle, not even him. Houston Chronicle released
Roasted peas.
a investigation saying that the mayor opened up a new position, put his friend in there that used to be a former city controller,
Yep.
and was like, you're going to be my senior financial advisor, and you're going to report to me and me alone. You're going to have $174,000 yearly salary. And the Houston Chronicle said, well, looking at the records, you've only used your email 12 times so far this year. You've only been in the building about 16 times since the past 2 years and a half. What's up with that? And so Chris Hollins is like, this is my job. I have to investigate this. This is like literally what I have to do.
not even a former controller, his predecessor.
Like,
His
yo,
predecessor.
There are people in Chris Hollins' office that worked for Chris Brown. Like that's
So when you talking about infiltrators, talking about people who are just like probably sabotaging. Chris Hollins was elected to do a job he hasn't really been able to do it. That's also part of the history, right? Since he even said in the press conference, I have only seen the mayor
Listen.
at city council meetings and no other time besides that. So they don't meet together, they don't talk together, and it's budget season. How you not sitting with the current city controller and going over the budget outside of city council?
So that's usually the history between those two offices.
Oh, really? They don't meet with each other.
Well, not that they don't meet with each other, but the controller's office is kind of seen as a perch for somebody who may want to be mayor, right? So that's, from the mayor's perspective, that's the ops always. That's where the ops gets elected to sit and watch you and blow the whistle every time you try to spend dollars, right?
I didn't know. Okay,
So
I
the
didn't understand the
controller
practical.
is historically just tagging the mayor up at all times on finance. Chris Brown did that to Sylvester Turner.
Okay, yeah.
You know, it's just normal, right? So, I mean, John Whitmire tries to make it seem like it's the worst thing that ever happened in the world every time he says you're politicizing, yada, yada, yada. But it's not. I wouldn't say it's abnormal for those two who know there's a potential chance they're in a matchup against each other one day
in the next election.
that they have that type of relationship.
Listen. That's
So
crazy. We're gonna go ahead and start in a minute. So go ahead.
No, go for it.
No, what I'm curious about then is, because I watched this press conference like twice, and I'm glad we're getting into it, Stevens, because I was so curious about some of the press in the Q&A did paint it as a kind of like oppositional like tug of war between Chris Hollins and the mayor's office, and he was like, I think one person was like, well, I know y'all don't really get along like that, right? And I was like, well, what? I was curious is this a personal thing, or is because the way that Chris Hollins played it, and I don't think he was being fake here, but the way that he played it was like, listen, as you just put it, Stevens, this article came out. It's my
Down the road and One, I was already paired to match up against this guy the first time. Remember, Chris Hollins dropped out of the mayor's race to run for controller. So they'd already started running against each other. That's how the two of them are introduced to one another, is antagonistic, right?
Wow.
And then Sheila Jackson Lee gets in the race, so Chris Hollins gets out, right? And Amanda gets out, yada, 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 right? So then Chris runs for controller. My understanding is early on, like, Hollins was trying to reach out to the mayor and say, let's have a collaborative relationship. This could totally be wrong. This is palace intrigue. BS, right? The mayor just kind of rebuffed that and was like, "No, I'm the mayor. Like, I know how I want to do this. I don't need to check in."
See, then my question is, this is what I wanted to get in. See, so in a certain way it's personal, but the way that Hollins also put it was, this guy, Chris Brown, is supposed to be like looking and trying to find corruption and excess in the budget, and supposed to be sort of being a fiscally responsible, like this guy who's supposed to be like helping the mayor be more fiscally responsible. And it turns out his very position is
the irresponsibility.
is an evidence of fiscal.
I'm shocked to learn there's gambling in this casino. Like, that's.
And we're talking about the zeitgeist of the moment and everything. We're talking about people watching nationally how the Trump administration has been enriching itself.
Yes.
How everything has been a money grab.
Kim Paxton.
Kim Paxton.
So,
So, like, Whitmire is going to be sweating, because part of the investigation is you have to talk to your direct supervisor for this position that you were inquiring about.
Yeah.
And that's him. So will he sit down with Chris Hollins to, collaborate or cooperate with this investigation? Who knows? Chris Hollins said that this could take a month, this could take a year. We don't know. And so I feel like the intrigue of this one is going to be huge, because the moment
and the timing of it too,
and the timing, the political time, because like nobody really is in the mood to hear about your local politician taking your money to do some other stuff that's not for you, including a $60,000 podcast that he put together, that he spent money on, right? So it's like people are like, Whitmire, you're looking like Trump right now. And mind you, he's already been voted out of the Democratic Party here locally.
Yeah, the precinct chair.
Whitmire's in trouble. Whitmire's in trouble.
He is.
Chris Hollins is a very capable contender.
Okay.
If Chris Hollins does decide that's what he wants to do, it's gonna be a matchup.
I mean, it's looking like it's looking like Barack Obama and John McCain for next year.
I wouldn't take it that far, because I do not like anything that John Whitmire does, hardly. I gotta respect his political game, man.
Oh, he's good at it.
He's a swamp fox, right? Like, he's just, and you know exactly what I mean by swamp fox.
I mean, I hear you, but at the same time, I see it as like the Texas politics of like, well, we don't really have to declare being a Democrat or Republican to like be involved in.
That's right.
But doesn't that create more possibilities for Whitmire though?
And that's the swamp fox thing, is like, I can pose as a Democrat, but I'm gonna be playing. It's like kind of Kim Ogg when
his swamp fox is racial too. Like, he came up in a black district.
Oh,
he's like in the
why did
70s.
he know?
Like he got it was a very balanced district. There's a lot of black people in that district. So John Whitmire came up on black politics.
Right, and that's the thing.
He know the game.
Yeah, like he's very. Like,
but who is his constituency from those days? Probably like elders, older
Democratic Party, super hardcore establishment folks,
and
Republicans.
And
that's his coalition.
And what you just named there are
Republicans are a big part of his coalition. The Republicans don't put up another Republican against him, because that might screw it up. We got all the Republican policy we need out of John Whitmire.
Exactly.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Right. So my thing is like what you just said. Democratic establishment and Republicans who are currently all taking L's. So
that's right. That's what I'm saying. I started off by saying Chris Hollins is gonna be nice with it if he wants to get in it. Yeah, like that's my baseline. But let me sell the matchup. You know, like it's Holyfield Tyson. We know how it is. But like let me sell Holyfield to you real quick.
I'm telling you right now.
They go 12 rounds.
No, it's not gonna be 12 rounds.
You don't think it's gonna be 12? You don't think it's gonna be 12?
I think Chris Hollins will mop the floor with him at this political time. Yeah, with like all Chris Hollins is gonna do is like, hey y'all, the budget.
I hear you. That man John is probably sitting on $5 million though. He's probably sitting on something.
He's got to be sitting on a crazy war chest.
Sure, but we're talking about there have already been races, specifically like APAC races, that have poured money and lost because the momentum
100%.
is on the progressive
But
candidate.
do you think mop the floor though? You think he gonna get washed? Like I'm thinking like, yeah, he'll probably win, but get washed. Like you think
I think he'll get washed. I think he'll get
you
washed.
think Whitmire get washed? Like just like done deal. Like
I think he'll get watched just because of like the economic situation and the budget conversation, and people are not happy with what's going on. Which, by the way, like going into the talk about people taking care of their own, like the Black Panther Party and all that.
Yeah,
like shout out to Sunnyside, cleanup.
Yeah.
I know you're from Sunnyside.
Yes.
And that's part of the work. Is like
I love what
you
those guys
wouldn't
do.
have to need to have a Sunnyside cleanup.
That started with one
if
man.
the city, with one person.
Yeah.
If the city of
I didn't know
Houston
that.
was picking up the garbage and also enforcing those anti-dumping laws that's supposed to exist, Sunnyside wouldn't have to have its own community cleanup. But what is it doing? It's galvanizing them to be engaged with each other, to be able to like
Take ownership of their community.
Ownership, and what is it like?
Which is socialism.
To raise the pride.
He's building an institution. I'm glad you said he should not be necessary within the city of Houston if they were doing their job. But because trash does not get picked up, because illegal dumping goes unabated, he's creating a community-based institution that takes care of it. That is socialist.
Right.
It is.
It
It just genuinely like it.
That's so. You asked me where black socialism is in
It's in
Houston.
Sunnyside
It's in
That
Sunnyside
is
cleaning
dope.
up the block. That's
Right,
socialism.
clean the block.
That's hard. I love this. I love this. It's
And
crazy.
that's why I'm saying, like, Chris Hollins, all he has to do is make these coalitions out of these folks that are already passionate about helping their own communities because the city's not. And he's just good. All he has to do be like, I'm your guy because look, I know how the budget's broken down. I need to work for y'all to have the funding, so you don't have to do this. You could do something else, right? Like
crazy,
energy, or matter of fact, this became a business, so we're gonna have a funding source for you to be able to do this now for more than just Sunnyside, right? Like because what happened after Harvey? You get West Street Recovery,
Yep.
and they are.
Those guys are socialists. Like, those guys are great. I love those guys.
Why did we need
Those
West
are
Street
some of my
Recovery?
favorites.
Because the city of Houston was not helping the communities, specifically the black communities that got flooded out in Harvey, who were still living in homes with mold on their walls because of the waters. And West Side Recovery said, "We'll fix it for you."
So let me ask you this. So would you prefer, this is a genuine sort of speculative question, would you prefer that people do it on their own, or do you think the city should be responsible for these kinds of things? Like, that's my question.
I
Like,
think,
you know what I mean? Like, it's not a shady question. I'm
No.
just-
I think it's a little bit of both, right?
Okay.
Because what's one thing that people need, especially during a time like this? Jobs.
Okay, yeah.
So just like Mandani, when the snowstorm hit, and he's like, "Hey, apply for this one-day position that's gonna pay you $75 an hour to shovel up the snow in your community," and it got done. And by the end of that snowstorm, that same day, those sidewalks were clear and the roads were safe to drive in.
So you see public-private partnership, but it's not actually that. It's much more just a collaborative.
Right. It's like, hey, we're gonna pay you to clean up your own block from the snow. So I feel like both can exist because if there's communities that are in need and there are no organizations that are applying the needs and like to make sure they got what they need, then yeah, the city should step in and make sure that they get what they need. But like if there's organizations picking up the slack, then you just need to uplift them and support them and give them like the resources.
And
they
not
need.
come in and swoop in and
And
try
not
to
come in and
replace
swoop it.
them.
No, that's
try to replace
that's like a regular nonprofit city relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like you just do it like that. So I feel like this is the moment where next year, and this is just looking ahead because I know we got the election cycle this year, but looking ahead for mayor of Houston, like if we're really, because I'm passionate about Houston, not earning, because it's been earned, but being recognized for the powerhouse that it is in the country.
Yeah, you've said this for years now. Actually.
In the country.
Yeah.
You got New York in the east, LA in the west, and you got Houston in the south.
They wanted to be Atlanta, but I think Houston has a real chance to sort of take
Atlanta
over
doesn't
as
have a
progressive
coast.
powerhouse.
Atlanta doesn't have a coast, and Houston does. And
Oh yeah, that's right, because it is inland. You're right. Yeah,
and the oil industry is here, so there's like a lot of like political mechanisms and power here that have been holding, like just suppressing the movement that is actually just waiting to explode. Because the moment you get the right mayor in and city council members in, and that budget starts to get used the way it needs to be used, and people will be like, "Oh my God, like socialism."
Things look different over here now. Like we sitting pretty. Yeah.
You would not get another Republican close to any of those seats, and you would not get another establishment Democrat close to those seats. People will be like, "Oh wow!" And my hope is that it happens through this like organic community organizing and organizations that have been building for the past 10 years to like really secure that these old forces that would just keep us dry during moments of need no longer the ones at the wheel.
Do you think? Go ahead. Go. What were you about to say?
No, go ahead.
No, I'm curious about like city council races then, because I think if you have, when I was doing this work, it seemed that the mayor and the city council could be, not always, but there's a possibility the mayor and city council could be antagonistic towards each other too, right? So like I'm wondering, don't you also need a city council that would support a mayor's agenda, or do you all think that like, because the mayor can't get it done by himself? I mean,
it's really
no. In Houston, they can't, because the Houston and the mayor system, the mayoral system, like the mayor makes the decision. Like, yes.
So the council is merely just a sort of a suggestive sort of council, but like a
Gladys Knight and the Pips.
No way.
Yeah.
What?
Oh,
yeah.
Good God.
That's one of the conversations I remember DSA having a couple of years ago when I was like, campaigning. They were talking about being able to change the Houston charter, like to like change the way that like power is.
So the city council doesn't have any real power, really?
Not really. It's
the
like,
only power they have is collaborative. So 3 of them can get together and force something on the agenda, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then great, you just lost 3 to 14 or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it takes coalition politics. So the future of city
even for the at-large seats?
For the at-large. So the future of city council races is going to be slates. Once the organizers catch up to that's what it takes. You need 9. If you get 9, you become the mayor then. Mm-hmm. Right? Like you beat the mayor, but it takes 9. So you need a slate of 9 people to win. So the type of grassroots organizing that it would take for the type of slate that we're talking about
you would need
is
9.
a massive effort.
Maybe a young up-and-coming politician who's really smart and savvy. He's got a beautiful family and has some left-leaning ideologies that wants to come in there swooping.
Maybe
and
you should do something.
I don't know who's an urbanist and who's thinking about questions of like everyday bike lanes and bus lanes. I don't know that person, but I'm thinking.
They tried to make me out to be a bike-only guy.
Are you serious?
I had people on TikTok be like, I'm not voting for that guy because I don't want to live in Bike-a-Stan or whatever. Like they hate me on that bike.
Are you serious?
That's a part of what I love. That's not the whole thing.
It's not the whole thing. You were thinking that makes no. But I can only imagine what you're gonna do with a longer like timeline. You got in the race late. Like there's a lot of I think options and problems.
Do it again.
Like it was a crazy learning. Like everything gets compressed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
3 months. Like I go from like falling on my face, speaking publicly, right, to like.
You figured it out.
Let's do this, right?
You also got endorsed by Houston
Chronicle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to accuse me of stealing that one. Like when you run for office, people have a lot of opinions about you, right?
Right.
Which is why I respect the caller who said, "Quit saying that woman's name. She's not even on the scene anymore." It's like, all right, respect. I've been there. Like I've had people with my name in their mouth at all times, not knowing what they were talking about. Jeez. So I feel that. But yeah, no, got the Chronicle endorsement. And again, it's because I was running a different race than what's been run before. And I view that race as like the mixtape. Like that was the mixtape.
Exactly. It was a soft line. Yeah. And also too, it was just seeing how passionate the people who were with you in your camp, like there's something, and we talked. I mean, I did this thing called New Leaders Council, and we talked about this. It's like it's one thing for you to have numbers; it's another thing for you to have like avid support from people, like people who were like energetically excited about your cause.
I looked up in the room. We were having like the inner team meeting, and I just looked up, and they were talking to each other, and I was like, "Wait a second, are all of y'all children of immigrants?" And they're like, "Yeah, we are." Like my whole squad, without even intending to be that.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And I had like Maria. Y'all sit next to Maria all the time. Maria is my ace boom coon.
Yeah,
like, that's my person.
Yeah.
And she was telling me like, I didn't even really know about your race. I just saw you. I saw your ICE video. And you're the only candidate to say abolish ICE.
Right.
You know. And so like I came on board, and I was getting people like that, and I didn't realize that in the moment, like the ICE conversation is different now than it was then.
Yeah.
But in that moment, it was like I didn't realize this light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, "Wait a second, I'm in a different space now. I'm not just Jordan who has strong views on ICE.
Yeah.
I'm now a public figure saying these things. And people have never heard a public figure say these things.
Right.
So it was weird to me because I'm like, what? I talk about this stuff
all
the
the
time.
time.
They're
All
like,
the
no,
time.
public figures don't do that.
Exactly. They're very
Yeah.
careful of what, and,
Yeah.
and yet you maintain your genuineness, and I don't necessarily use the word authenticity is not my, but like you maintain your genuineness and your integrity throughout the whole process. Like I don't know, like it was actually pretty. It was pretty magisterial to sort of watch up close to see how you did this. And I can't. So part of me is I just genuinely can't wait to see, if you decide to do it again, what it's going to look like.
You're not the first person to tell me that, and that's so strange to me because when I'm talking about policy, I'm talking about riding the bus with my grandmother.
Yeah, but but you got to understand. Okay, so this,
and again, public figures don't do that.
but that's the other, but also you did it in a way. You got to keep in mind. I'm watching you do these things at these campaign events, and all I'm thinking is, and I can say this now, Stevens, you don't know this. We used to have like a running pickup game that we used to play. And part of me was sitting there like, man, like he's come such a long way, all that. But I'm also like, man, we used to cuss each other out on the court. So part of me was like super excited to see you move in this new direction. And I don't know, it was and be energetic and thoughtful and polished. And you're not saying the things that other politicians are saying, but the story resonates and it has impact and it hits. So there's something about that I genuinely hope you hop back.
I might still cuss you out in the game of 21.
Oh, no, listen.
I'm not saying.
Well, Stevens, I wish he was that man. We used to be in there. He would be talking trash. We would be posting. He'd be like, "Yo, you too small, fam," and I'd be like, "Bro."
I am a trash talker.
we sound good.
Well, with that, I want to thank you, Jordan, for
Definitely.
coming through, for being part of our conversation here and this show. And we hope to have you on many times, because the whole point of this show is to have a rotation of folks that come in and check in, who are doing work, who are staying plugged in with what's going on in the community, keeping everybody else up to date with what's going on, because everybody who's currently watching and listening, they got busy lives, they can't make it to these meetings, they can't make it to these events. And sometimes all they really want to do is be home and have their whatever the comfort, food, wine, a smoke, whatever it is, and just chill out. And they do want to know what's going on. And if you're tuning in, thank you. So please, for this moment, just take the opportunity to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on the bell so you can get some notifications. Follow us individually. Jordan, where can folks find you on social media?
Man, I don't even know my accounts. Jordan for Hugh City Council, I think, is my IG. That's probably the easiest place to find me. X, I'm doing less and less on X, man. That place is a cesspool.
Yeah,
now.
Twitter or X, whatever.
Algo is just degrading in real time.
I haven't been on there in years, actually. It's just bad.
And I've noticed that. The people I used to interact with a whole lot are gone.
I know.
So
and it's a lot of Black studies people who I was following and thinking with on, and you could get a lot. Nah, not no more, man. That place is crazy.
So I'm probably going to revamp my socials. I need to find new places to hang out.
Okay, and Biko, we wrapping up. So you have anything you want to tell people on the way out?
You know what? Honestly, I just love that we're continuing to do this. I will say as a parting thing, it's always good to bring on good people who understand what's going on locally. So JT, Jordan, we're so grateful that you came by.
Thanks for having me.
And also for those of y'all out there, keep in mind there are so many ways to get politically involved, and voting is but one of those ways.
Right.
So continue to think about the ways that you can impact your community, the people around you. Continue to understand that, as my middle namesake Nelson Mandela said, you are the change that you're looking for. So keep it up, y'all.
And with that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, listening, our caller for joining us. We'll be here next week to continue these conversations. And this is Talking Politics with Friends. And thank you for joining us. Peace.
That was dope.
Are we on?
Yeah.
We on? That shit was fun.
That was fun.
You gotta come back.
That was fun, bro.